Hello everyone, I am Dr. Zaid Almahmoud. I am excited to introduce you to computer programming today. And while you might be studying media, film, or journalism, programming skills can help you tell stories in new and interactive ways. Let's discuss why programming is relevant to media. Think about digital media today. Websites, mobile apps, interactive graphics, or even algorithms that curate your social media feed. All of these are powered by code. Therefore, understanding programming gives you more control over how you deliver content, whether it's creating a custom portfolio site, analyzing data for journalism, or building interactive media. Here's an overview of the lesson. In today's session, I'll give you a gentle introduction to programming using Python, one of the most popular and beginner-friendly languages. We will cover three main concepts, and these are variables, control flow structures, and functions. We will additionally look at other concepts briefly, such as dictionaries. First, let's define programming. At its core, programming is giving instructions to a computer program to perform tasks. Just like following a recipe, the computer executes your code step by step. And there are many programming languages that we can use to give our computers these instructions, such as Python, Java, and C++, each with different uses. Today, we are focusing on Python, known for being simple and versatile. In fact, Python is great for everything from web development to data analysis. And here is a real-world example. Have you ever visited a website with an interactive graphics? Sites like the New York Times or NPR use programming to create stories that adapt based on your interactions. These websites are instructed to analyze your clicks and learn your preferred news. Let's start with variables. A variable in programming is like a container that stores information. Think of it as a labeled box where you can keep a piece of data, like a number or a word. In Python, you can define variables as shown. For example, name equals Alice, age equals 25, temperature equals 37.2, and here name is a variable storing the word Alice and age stores the number 25. Next are data types. In programming, data comes in different types. Some common ones are, first, strings. Usually, this is a text like hello world. Number two, integers. And these are whole numbers like the number 25. Then we have floats, and these are decimals such as 3.14. Lastly, we have booleans, which can take one of two possible values, either true or false. As a media example, imagine you are working on a film database app. You could use variables to store a movie's title, release year, and rating, as shown here. And we can then store these variables in a database, as shown on the lower side of the screen. When retrieving these values from the database for processing, we also need to store them in such variables. Now we move to control flow structures, and the first type is conditionals. So, what are control flow structures and why are they important? Well, control flow structures are types of statements that allow us to make decisions in our programs. For example, if a movie's rating is high, we might want to show it in a top picks section. Here, I would like to introduce you to the if statement. The if statement lets your program choose a path based on conditions. And here's a simple example in Python. Rating equals 8.8. If rating is greater than 8, print this is a top rated movie, which is an instruction to the program to display this message. else print this movie is not top rated. To explain this in a simple language, if the movie's rating is greater than 8, the program displays this is a top rated movie. Otherwise, it displays this movie is not top rated. So now, who can tell me what the output will be if we run this program? Well, as you might have guessed, the output is the first message only. This is a top-rated movie. This happens because the movie's rating is 8.8, which is greater than 8. Note that the program skips the second condition and message, since the first condition has already been satisfied. And here is a real-world example for media. In a news app, you could use if statements to decide which articles to show based on the user's interest. For example, if the user is interested in technology, show tech news. Observe here that we can have more than two conditions, and we can use elif, which stands for else if, in order to check additional conditions after the first if statement. This allows us to handle multiple scenarios efficiently. More specifically, if the condition of any of these if or elif statements is true, the remaining conditions in subsequent elif or else blocks are not checked. Now we move to another type of control flow structures, which are the loops. The first type of loops is called while loop. A while loop allows a block of code to be repeated as long as certain condition is true. In the shown code example, the song is played until there are no more plays left. The while loop keeps checking the condition, plays left greater than 0, and repeats the task. The code is as follows. First line, plays left equals 3. Second line, while plays left greater than 0, in other words, as long as the variable plays left is greater than 0. Third line says, print playing the song. Fourth line says, plays left minus equals 1. And this statement decrements the variable plays left by 1 in each iteration or loop. The last line, print no more plays left. As you can observe, this statement is outside the loop since it's not preceded by any indentation. This last statement, no more plays left, will be executed when the program exits the loop. We now introduce the second type of loops, which is the for loop. A for loop allows you to iterate over a collection of items such as a list of movies. And here is an example of a for loop that displays on the screen the names of 3 movies. The first line stores the list of movies in a variable called movies. It says movies equals Inception, The Matrix, Interstellar. The second line says for movie in movies. The third line says print movie. In this example, the for loop goes through each movie in the movies list and displays its name. This is useful when you want to process each item or to process items in a sequence. Here are some real-world examples for media. Imagine you are building a video streaming app. You might use a while loop to keep playing a video until the user presses pause. For example, you can say while pause equals 0 video.stream. Another example is that if you have a list of top articles, you could use a for loop as shown here to display them on the home page. For example, you could say for each article in top articles, print the article's title. To summarize, control flow structures like conditionals and loops are fundamental for decision making and repeating conditions. They enable us to build interactive and dynamic applications, such as recommending content to users or updating a news feed with fresh articles. Next, we introduce functions. So, what is a function? A function is a reusable block of code that performs a specific task. You can think of it as a subroutine or a mini program within your program. A function definition starts with the word def in Python as shown, and this is followed by the name of the function, followed by a list of parameters, which are variables that form the input to the function. This is followed by the function definition or body. A function may or may not return a value. In other words, it may not have a result to return at the end. In these cases, the function task could be to simply display the results or save data to the disk, among other possible tasks. In the shown example, the function print movies details takes in three pieces of information, which are the parameters, the movie's title, year, and rating, and displays them in a formatted way and does not return any value in this case. A function is called by its name, possibly by another function, and while passing the argument list or the values of its parameters, as shown in the last line of this example. And here is an example for a simple function that returns a value. As shown, the function name is sum, which receives two variables, x and y, and returns their sum using a return statement with the keyword return. In the last line, we call the function outside the function definition, possibly in another function, and assign its returned value to a variable called z. Now, can you tell me what is the value of z after calling this function? As we can see, after calling the function sum, the value of z is 5, because 5 is the sum of 2 and 3. Overall, functions help organize your code as we can see here, and make it more readable. You only need to write the logic once and can call the function multiple times, possibly with different inputs. Let's take an example from media. So, if you are working on a journalism project, you could create a function that formats data, such as printing out article headlines and summaries, as shown, and possibly by calling other functions where each performs one task. In the body of the example function shown here, we have a call to a function that displays the article's headline and another call to another function that summarizes the given article. The last topic in today's lesson is dictionaries. In Python, a dictionary is a collection of key-value pairs, where each key is unique and is associated with a corresponding value. Think of it as a map that helps you find a value using its key. This method of accessing elements is efficient because we can retrieve a value directly using its key as an index. In the first line of the code shown, a dictionary called project is defined, which contains two elements, the title and the category. The title's value is documentary A and the category's value is film. To access the value of the category, the second line uses category as the key to directly retrieve the value from the project dictionary. The following for loop iterates over all keys in the project dictionary, and once it encounters the key title, it prints its associated value. So now, can someone tell me what is the output of this program? As it turns out, this program will first display film, executing the first print statement, since its key is category. The second print statement will display documentary A on the screen, since this element's key is title. Tying it all together, here is a real-world application. Let's imagine you are creating a portfolio website to showcase your journalism or media work. You might use Python to manage and display your projects, organize them based on category, or even build a simple interactive feature for visitors. Alright class, let's walk through this piece of code step by step. The goal of this code is to display different types of projects based on their categories, such as film or journalism. First, let's look at the function definition. We have a function here called display portfolio, which is designed to take a list of projects as input. Now, each project in that list is represented by a dictionary that has two key value pairs, one for the project's title and one for its category. Let's break that down. The for loop, what it does is that it iterates over every project in the list of projects we pass to the function. So imagine you have a list of projects and the loop goes through them one by one. Inside the for loop, we have the if statement. Here, it checks each project's category. If the category is film, it will print the title of that project with the message film project followed by the project title. If the project's category isn't film, but instead is journalism, the program moves to the elif statement and prints journalism project followed by that project title. And notice how we use project title with title being the index. This is how we retrieve the title from the dictionary for each project, based on the key title. Now, let's look at the data we are passing to this function. As we can see, the variable portfolio is a list of two projects, each represented by a dictionary. The first project is a film titled Documentary A. The second project is a journalism piece titled Article on Climate. Finally, we call the function with this portfolio. The last line tells the program to call the display portfolio function, passing in our portfolio list so that it can process each project and print the appropriate message. So now, can someone tell me what will the output be? Let's go over this. The first project's category is film, so the program will print film project Documentary A. The second project's category is journalism, so it prints journalism project article on climate. So the full output of this program is film project Documentary A, journalism project article on climate. Overall, this small snippet allows you to filter and display projects based on their type, which could be a useful feature for a portfolio website. And this is a great example of how we can use loops, conditionals, and dictionaries together, as well as functions, in order to categorize and display information dynamically. Does anyone have any questions about how the loop or conditionals work here? To summarize, today we have learned some basic concepts of programming. These are variables, conditionals and loops, functions, and dictionaries. These might seem simple, but they are the building blocks of every application, including the ones used in media. So, why should we learn programming? Well, whether you are creating a dynamic news website, analyzing data for a story, or building a portfolio, programming allows you to be more creative and in control of the digital tools at your disposal. As a next step, I encourage you to explore more of what Python can do. Try automating simple tasks, creating visualizations, or even building your personal website. Also, If you haven't done so already, I highly recommend that you install Python on your machines along with a suitable IDE like Visual Studio Code to practice programming problems at home. I will be sharing some of these problems with you by email, but the internet offers a wealth of similar problems that you can solve. We will also hold a programming competition at the end of the term, offering exciting awards to the top performers. And this will be a great chance to showcase your skills, tackle fun challenges, and compete for recognition and amazing prizes. So get ready to put your knowledge to the test. Thank you for joining this introduction to programming. And remember, anyone can learn to code, and you don't need to be a computer science major to start creating with it. And here are some useful books that you can learn from. Now, do you have any questions?